You ever think about how history can just pivot on a dime? One single decision, a change in the weather, one battle, and suddenly everything is different. Today we're digging into one of the biggest what-ifs you can imagine. What if Napoleon Bonaparte actually succeeded in his invasion of Russia? How would that one single victory have completely rewritten the last 200 years of our lives?
It's a massive question, isn't it? So let's trace the ripples, starting from that one single point in time, the moment history forked into two separate paths. You've got our world, and then you have this other world, where one man's victory completely redrew the map and redefined the entire future. Okay, let's get into it. Our journey into this other reality starts right here, at what historians call the point of divergence. It's the exact moment our world and their world split apart for good. And for us, that year is 1812.
Now, this lays out the two paths so clearly. In our reality, the one we all know, the legendary Russian winter just absolutely decimated Napoleon's massive army. It was a total catastrophe, really the beginning of the end for his empire. But in this alternate timeline, he pulls it off. He wins. He forces the Tsar to surrender, and just like that, Russia is now part of his empire. This one change is the single stone that starts a massive avalanche.
See, Napoleon's victory here isn't just about winning on the battlefield. It's the foundation for a whole new way of life in Europe. His ambition was way bigger than just defeating his enemies. He wanted to create a single, unified continental order, with him at the top.
So, with Russia defeated, Napoleon's grand idea, the continental system, it actually becomes a reality. And don't picture something like the EU today, a loose alliance. No way. This is a centralized, top-down empire. Prussia and Austria are basically just puppet states. Russia's been brought into the fold. And for the first time in history, the whole continent, from Portugal all the way to Moscow, is controlled by one power. And the capital of it all? Paris.
And this just shows you how deep the changes went. Napoleon doesn't just conquer Russia, he completely remakes it. I mean, look at these reforms. He abolishes serfdom, which is huge, he modernizes their entire army, and crucially, he implements his Napoleonic Code, a whole new system of civil law. He is literally dragging Russia, kicking and screaming, into the modern European world.
And you know, power isn't just about armies and laws, it's also about culture. With French political dominance comes French cultural dominance. So in this alternate world, French becomes the language. It's the language of diplomacy, of science, of high society, all across Europe. English, it never really gets its chance to become the global go-to language.
So what does all this mean for Napoleon's arch-nemesis, Great Britain? Well, with the entire continent united against them, they are completely and totally isolated. You can see the slow decline right here. First, they have no allies. Then, Napoleon's economic system starts to strangle their trade. Their empire starts to crumble. And eventually, Britain has no choice but to sign a peace treaty, basically admitting that Europe now belongs to Napoleon.
Okay, now we get to the most staggering, almost unbelievable consequence of that one single victory back in 1812. A Europe that's unified under one system, even by force. Well, it leads to a completely unforeseen outcome, a 20th century without any world wars.
It's a shockingly simple idea when you lay it out like this. I mean, the whole reason for World War I was the clash between rival empires and their alliances. Germany, Austria, Hungary, Russia, Britain, France. But in this Napoleonic timeline, those rival groups, they never even form. There's no powerful Germany to challenge France. There's just Europe.
And this is where you see the great domino effect. The chain reaction is just incredible. Without the catastrophe of World War I, there's no way the Russian Revolution happens. Without the humiliating Treaty of Versailles after that war, you don't get the rise of Hitler. And so, no World War II. And without two superpowers rising from the ashes of that war, well, there's no Cold War. The entire bloody defining story of our 20th century is just gone.
So does a more peaceful century mean a less advanced world? Not necessarily. It's just different. So much of our own technology, I'm talking jet engines, rockets, nuclear power, computers, was massively accelerated by the pressures of war. This alternate world would probably have much slower military development, but you might see more stable, consistent progress in civilian science, industry, and transportation.
So what does this all mean for today? Let's bring this whole timeline up to the present day and take a quick look at what the year 2026 might look like in this alternate Napoleonic reality.
The world of 2026 here is dominated by two giants. On one side, you have the European Empire. Now, after 200 years, it's probably evolved from a military dictatorship into some kind of constitutional federation. On the other side, the United States. They're rivals, for sure, competing on economics and technology. Maybe they even have a different kind of space race. But the key thing is, it is not the terrifying hair-trigger nuclear standoff of our Cold War.
And this table just makes the differences crystal clear. The superpowers are totally different. The global language is French, not English. Europe isn't a collection of states in a loose union. It's a single federal superpower that stretches from the Atlantic all the way to the Ural Mountains. The whole texture of the world is just fundamentally different.
In the end, it all comes back to the sheer scale of the change. A victory in 1812 wouldn't have just shifted a few borders. As the source material puts it so powerfully, he would have created a completely different civilization, more centralized, more Eurocentric, and utterly unlike the world in which we live today. So we're left with this final, really difficult question. A world without the unimaginable horrors of the 20th century's wars. That sounds like paradise, right? But it's also a world that's more uniform, more centralized, and maybe a lot less culturally diverse. It really makes you wonder, a safer world, a more unified world, but would it have been a better one? That's something to think about.